Hello, my dear friends. Thank you for being here with me today. If you're watching this video, it's not an accident. I believe something or someone led you here. My name doesn't matter as much as my story does. I was once deeply involved in witchcraft, rituals, spell work, and spirit communication. I lived in a world most people only whisper about in fear or curiosity. Today, I speak as a woman who walked away, who broke free, and who learned something so powerful that it terrified the very entities I once served. Stay with me because what I'm about to share is not theory, not religion, and not superstition. It is lived experience, and it may change how you see spiritual power forever. I remember the first time I felt power surge through me during a ritual. Candles flickering, symbols drawn, words spoken with precision. Everything worked. Spells manifested, intentions materialized, and spirits responded. That's what hooked me. Witchcraft rewards you quickly, especially in the beginning. It makes you feel chosen, awakened, superior. I believed I was controlling the unseen world, bending it to my will. What I didn't realize was that something else was slowly controlling me. Power always comes with a price, and I was paying it without knowing the full cost as a warlock. Yes, I used that title proudly. I worked with entities that presented themselves as guides, protectors, and allies. They spoke softly, promised wisdom, and never demanded outright worship. Instead, they asked for trust, obedience, and secrecy. They hated questions. They hated doubt. And most of all, they hated anything connected to one particular name. At the time, I brushed that off as symbolism or cultural conditioning. Now I know better. There was fear behind their anger, real fear. Over time, the rituals grew darker. What once felt empowering began to feel heavy. I started experiencing night terrors, sleep paralysis, sudden rage, and overwhelming sadness with no cause. My energy was drained constantly. Every spell required more effort, more offerings, more focus. The spirits demanded loyalty, yet gave less in return. That's when I began to realize the truth no one in witchcraft communities wants to admit. The power doesn't come from you. It never did. One night changed everything. I was performing a protection ritual for someone who claimed they were spiritually attacked. As I invoked my usual entities, something felt wrong. The air thickened. The candles flickered violently. I felt watched, not assisted. Out of fear, not faith, I whispered 3 words I remembered hearing as a child, words I had mocked for years. I didn't even fully believe them. But the moment I said them, everything stopped. The candles went out instantly. The pressure lifted. The presence vanished like it had been ripped away. I stood there shaking, heart racing, confused beyond words. For the first time in years, the silence felt peaceful, not empty. That moment haunted me, not because of fear, but because of what it revealed. Something I had trusted was powerless against those three simple words. After that night, the entities avoided me. Rituals stopped working the same way. Symbols felt empty. Incantations felt dead. I was furious. I demanded answers through divination, meditation, and spirit boards. What I got instead was resistance, anger, threats, and finally silence. That's when I knew I had crossed a line they couldn't follow. Those three words didn't just interrupt a ritual, they shattered a system. They exposed the hierarchy of the spiritual realm, one witchcraft never wants you to see. I began researching, not as a believer, but as a skeptic seeking explanation. I studied ancient texts, testimonies of ex-occultists, and patterns hidden across cultures. Everywhere I looked, the same truth surfaced. Darkness recognizes authority, and it is not its own. What shocked me most was how aggressively witchcraft teachings warn against those words. They're called dangerous, limiting, oppressive. We're told they strip you of power, but that's a lie. They strip something else of power, something that never wanted you to know you were enslaved. Freedom always looks like loss to a captor. When I finally spoke those three words with intention, not fear, the reaction was undeniable. Oppression lifted, mental fog cleared, the constant spiritual noise disappeared. For the first time, my thoughts felt like my own. That's when I realized witchcraft doesn't awaken you. It fragments you. It divides your will, your identity, and your peace. I know some of you watching are curious. Some are skeptical. Some are involved in practices you don't fully understand yet. I'm not here to attack you. I'm here because I wish someone had warned me. Witchcraft promises control but delivers dependency. And the scariest part, you don't realize you're bound until something tries to set you free. Those three words are not a spell. They require no candles, no symbols, no tools. They carry authority, not technique. That's why demons fear them. That's why spells collapse in their presence. Power that doesn't require ritual is power that cannot be manipulated. Welcome back, my dear friends. If you're still here, it means something inside you is listening closely. I want you to know this. Before I speak the words themselves, understand that they are not magic. They are not a chant. They are not a formula. They are authority spoken aloud. When I finally understood that everything I thought I knew about power collapsed, witchcraft taught me that words shape reality. What it never taught me is that some words don't shape reality. They command it. The three words are simple, almost offensively simple. Jesus is Lord. When I first said them with awareness, not mockery, not fear, but intention, something inside me broke, and something else was restored. I didn't see a vision. I didn't hear thunder. What I felt was clarity, absolute clarity, and the entities I once worked with They were gone, not hiding, not silent, gone. You see, demons don't fear rituals. They invented them. They don't fear witches, warlocks, or spellcasters. They recruit them. What they fear is recognized authority. Witchcraft operates on borrowed power. That's the secret no grimoire admits. Every spell requires permission from the spiritual realm. When you declare, Jesus is Lord, you revoke that permission instantly. I tested this. I had to. I challenged active spell work directed at me. Curses, bindings, energy attacks, things I once used myself. The moment I spoke those words, the attacks collapsed. Physical sensations stopped. Emotional pressure lifted. Dreams changed. It wasn't gradual, it was immediate. That's what terrified me most. The backlash came quickly. Nightmares intensified for a short time. Old entities tried to reassert control through fear, guilt, and memory. But they couldn't touch me, not anymore. Authority had shifted. Witchcraft had conditioned me to believe protection required constant effort. But real protection doesn't exhaust you, it covers you. Let me be clear. Saying the words without belief is just noise. Demons know the difference. Authority isn't volume, it's alignment. When you declare, Jesus is Lord, you are placing yourself under a hierarchy. They cannot override. That's why spells break. That's why rituals fail. That's why oppression lifts. I know this makes some of you uncomfortable. It would have enraged me once. Witchcraft trains you to react emotionally to truth before you examine it. That reaction is not yours. It's conditioned. I'm not asking you to abandon curiosity. I'm asking you to question who benefits from your silence. Every spell I ever cast required energy exchange. Exhaustion was normal. Anxiety was normal. Spiritual confusion was normal. None of that was normal. It was a symptom. Freedom doesn't drain you. Truth doesn't fragment you. Light doesn't manipulate you. If you are experiencing unexplained fear, recurring nightmares, sudden personality changes, or spiritual heaviness, I want you to know something important. You are not broken. You are not weak. And you are not crazy. You are likely oppressed, not possessed, and oppression thrives in ignorance. You don't need to know theology. You don't need a church. You don't need a pastor or priest. Authority doesn't come from buildings. It comes from truth, recognized and spoken. Speak the words aloud, not as an experiment, but as a declaration. When I finally surrendered control, real control, I gained peace I didn't know existed. The constant hunger for power disappeared. The need to manipulate outcomes vanished. Life became lighter. Not easier, but clearer. Witchcraft told me I was my own God. That lie nearly destroyed me. Because when you fail as a God, you have no one to save you. Declaring Jesus is Lord means admitting you are not meant to carry the weight of the universe, and that is freedom. If this message resonates, don't ignore it. You don't have to comment. You don't have to share. Just listen. Something is calling you out of darkness. Not into religion, but into truth. I am no longer a warlock. I am no longer bound, and I am not afraid to say the words that shattered my chains. Jesus is Lord.